Taurus, there is something about August 19th, 2026 that you should not dismiss as an ordinary day because the atmosphere surrounding you carries the feeling of a quiet turning point, the kind that may not announce itself with dramatic noise but can still change the direction of your inner world. You may wake up feeling that something is different without being able to explain exactly what has changed, and that subtle sensation is worth noticing. There can be a strange awareness around you, as though life is asking you to become more conscious of where your time, attention, energy, and emotional strength are actually going. For you, Taurus, this is especially meaningful because you are naturally someone who values stability, patience, consistency, and things that can be trusted over time. Yet today carries a reminder that even the most grounded person eventually reaches the end of a cycle. And when that happens, remaining attached to what has already completed itself can become more exhausting than moving forward. Before we look at love, money, health, family, work, and the other areas of your life touched by this reading, there is one central message you need to understand, and it concerns investment. This is not primarily about financial investment, possessions, markets, or material gain. The deeper investment being highlighted today is your investment of time. Time is one of the most valuable resources you possess because once a moment has passed, you cannot reclaim it in exactly the same form. This means that the way you spend your days quietly reveals what you believe deserves your life. Consider the things you repeatedly give your attention to, the conversations you continue having inside your own mind, the people whose emotions you constantly carry, the fears you revisit, the dreams you postpone, and the habits you continue simply because they are familiar. These choices become the invisible architecture of your experience. Life has a way of reflecting what you consistently place into it. When you choose kindness, patience, generosity, and goodwill, those qualities can eventually return through the relationships and circumstances you create. When negativity, envy, resentment, or bitterness are repeatedly entertained, they can also influence the reality you experience around you. This does not mean that every difficult event is something you caused, and it does not mean you should blame yourself for every painful circumstance. The deeper message is about alignment, about recognizing that the energy you repeatedly cultivate within yourself affects the way you perceive, respond to, and participate in your life. Taurus, you possess an enormous reserve of inner strength, and much of that strength is quiet. You do not always need to announce what you are carrying. You can continue functioning while processing things privately, and you can remain steady even when the environment around you becomes complicated. There may be moments when envy, negativity, comparison, or difficult emotions appear around you, but those influences do not have to become part of your identity. They can pass through your environment without taking possession of your center. Your greatest protection is not pretending that darkness does not exist, but remembering who you are when you encounter it. When you remain connected to your own inner light, you are less easily pulled into emotional patterns that do not belong to you. There is also a larger lesson here about cycles. Your life does not move in a perfectly straight line. Experiences develop, intensify, reach a certain point, and eventually transform. Some chapters arrive with excitement, while others are filled with uncertainty, disappointment, growth, or emotional exhaustion. A complicated chapter in your life is now approaching its completion, and that ending should not automatically be interpreted as loss. Sometimes an ending is simply the moment when life stops asking you to remain in a place that has already taught you what it needed to teach you. A new cycle is preparing to emerge, and with it comes a renewed impulse to move ahead. You may suddenly feel more motivated, more curious, more willing to act, or more aware that you cannot remain exactly where you were before. But Taurus, this is where your natural patience becomes one of your greatest strengths. Do not confuse new energy with a command to move immediately. The first emotional rush of a new chapter can make everything seem urgent. You might suddenly want to decide, commit, change direction, begin something, or close something simply because the atmosphere feels different. Give yourself room to observe before acting. A seed does not become a tree because someone pulls it upward and demands immediate growth. It develops because it receives nourishment, time, stability, and the right conditions. Your new cycle deserves the same treatment. Let clarity develop naturally. Let the initial excitement settle. Watch what remains after the emotional intensity passes, because what remains may reveal what is truly aligned with you. This same principle becomes especially important when you look at your relationships. If you are Taurus and you have been in a long-term partnership, there is a meaningful sense of harmony developing between you and the person you love. The relationship may have a complementary quality, where each person brings something different while still creating a sense of stability together. You may have already built something that has survived ordinary pressures, difficult periods, changing circumstances, and the repetitive demands of everyday life. Yet even a strong relationship can experience moments when affection becomes quieter. The relationship may still be healthy, but spontaneous tenderness may not appear as frequently as it once did. This does not necessarily indicate that love has disappeared. Sometimes familiarity becomes so comfortable that people stop expressing the feelings they still carry. You may know that someone loves you, and they may know that you love them, but knowing is not always the same as feeling that love being actively expressed. Today encourages a small renewal of tenderness. It could be a thoughtful gesture, a sincere expression of appreciation, a moment where you put aside distractions and give your partner your complete attention. These seemingly simple actions can become powerful because emotional closeness is often rebuilt through small repeated moments rather than dramatic declarations. Your partner may be longing for additional warmth, reassurance, or tenderness without knowing exactly how to ask for it. Sometimes people become quiet about their emotional needs because they do not want to appear demanding, because they fear rejection, or because they assume their partner should already understand. Your willingness to notice what is not being said can therefore become an important form of love. For single Taurus individuals, your current solitude may also carry a deeper meaning. Being alone does not necessarily mean that love is absent from your future. There are periods when life creates distance from temporary connections because your emotional standards are changing. Perhaps you have become tired of interactions that begin intensely and disappear just as quickly. Perhaps you have experienced connections that gave you excitement without giving you security, attention without giving you authenticity, or attraction without giving you the emotional depth your heart actually needs. When that happens, solitude can become a period of refinement. You begin to recognize what no longer satisfies you. You stop confusing attention with intimacy. You stop treating chemistry as proof of compatibility. You become more selective because you have learned the emotional cost of accepting less than what genuinely resonates with you. The message for you now is that a new energy may be moving closer to your life. This could be someone already present around you, someone whose role has not yet become clear, or someone who may soon enter your path. The important point is that this connection is described as something capable of capturing your attention in a deeper way. It can awaken parts of you that have been quiet for a long time. It can bring back dreams, romantic possibilities, and the sense that love can still feel exciting without becoming shallow. You may find yourself asking whether you are ready to recognize that kind of connection when it appears. That question matters because sometimes a person can arrive at the right moment and still be overlooked if the heart is too guarded by old experiences. You do not need to force anything, but you do need to remain aware. Now move your attention toward finances because the message here is more cautious. For the remainder of this year, financial conditions may remain somewhat unpredictable and abundance may not always arrive at the pace or level you would prefer. This is not presented as a reason for fear. Instead, it is an invitation to manage what you already possess with greater awareness. Taurus. Financial stability often matters deeply to you because material security can create a sense of emotional safety. When resources feel uncertain, you may naturally become more concerned about the future. The answer is not to allow fear to control your decisions, but to return to your practical nature. Organize your resources. Distinguish between genuine needs and temporary desires. Consider where your money is going. Allow your financial goals to remain realistic for a period of time rather than forcing rapid expansion simply because you want immediate results. Think of this phase as a season in which you protect what you have while preparing for what comes later. A garden does not become less valuable simply because one season produces less than another. Sometimes the wise response is to conserve, maintain, strengthen the roots, and prepare for the conditions that will eventually support greater growth. Your financial wisdom now comes from restraint, organization, and patience. Before moving deeper into the reading, there is also a symbolic message connected to the numbers and color associated with your day. For August 19th, the numbers connected with your reading are 25 and 9. These numbers are presented as having a particular resonance for you today, and you may notice them appearing unexpectedly through ordinary details such as a house number, a time on the clock, or another sequence that catches your attention. If an opportunity connected to these numbers appears through something playful such as a lottery, raffle, or another game of chance, the reading presents them as a gentle invitation to take a playful leap of faith. This should not be understood as a guarantee of an outcome, but rather as a symbolic point of awareness for the day. Your lucky color is yellow. Think of the emotional qualities associated with sunlight, optimism, warmth, vitality, and the beginning of something fresh. You may choose to wear something yellow, carry an accessory with that color, or simply visualize yellow light surrounding you as you move through your day. The significance here is symbolic, representing an atmosphere of positivity and inner radiance. If you encounter a choice where yellow naturally appears as an option, you can allow your intuition to guide you toward it. The larger message is not about the color itself creating your future, but about using a simple symbol to remind yourself of the energy you want to embody. Your outer experiences are also closely connected with the condition of your inner world. When you are emotionally aligned with yourself, when your thoughts and feelings are not constantly fighting against each other, that internal harmony can influence the way you move through the world. You may notice greater creativity, increased energy, improved motivation, and a stronger sense of well-being. These changes can begin internally before anyone else notices them externally. At the same time, there is an important interpersonal message for you today. Someone close to you may be carrying a private burden that they have not openly discussed. They may be moving through an emotional struggle quietly, perhaps because they are shy, perhaps because they do not want to burden anyone, or perhaps because they simply do not know how to explain what they are feeling. Taurus, your sensitivity to emotional changes may allow you to notice something subtle before the person says anything. You may sense that their voice is different, that their energy has shifted, or that they are withdrawing slightly from their usual behavior. Do not assume that you know exactly what they are experiencing, but do not ignore the inner signal either. A gentle question, patient listening, or a simple offer of support may be enough to let them know that they do not have to carry everything alone. Sometimes the most powerful form of help is not solving another person's problem, but creating enough safety for them to finally speak. Your natural steadiness can become especially valuable in such a moment. This connects with the principle of karma emphasized in the reading, the idea that what you sow eventually influences what you experience later. When you offer compassion, generosity, patience, and genuine support, you are contributing something positive to the world around you. Your kindness does not need to be transactional. You do not have to help someone because you expect immediate repayment. Give because it reflects who you are, and allow life to determine how that goodness returns. A noble heart can become a source of stability for people who are struggling, and your capacity for empathy is presented as one of your meaningful strengths. Now look toward the celestial atmosphere of August 19th, 2026, because the lingering energy of the waning moon carries a clear theme of release. This is a period for reducing emotional and mental clutter, for recognizing what has already completed its purpose, and for creating room for something new. You may be holding on to an old pattern simply because it is familiar. You may still be carrying resentment from something that happened before. You may have beliefs about yourself or your future that were formed during an earlier version of your life and have never been questioned since. The waning moon creates a symbolic invitation to loosen your grip. Releasing something does not mean pretending it never mattered. It means recognizing that its place in your life may have changed. You can acknowledge what happened without allowing it to determine what happens next. Your intuition is also described as particularly strong today. Pay attention to those quiet internal impressions that arrive before your logical mind has fully organized an explanation. You may experience a sudden sense of direction, a quiet certainty about what deserves your attention, or an internal pull towards something that feels more authentic. The outside world can be loud, and it is easy to become distracted by other people's expectations, opinions, urgency, or fear. Yet your inner compass may be pointing towards something much simpler, the things that genuinely resonate with your heart. Do not automatically dismiss those impressions simply because they cannot be immediately explained. At the same time, let intuition guide rather than overwhelm you. The purpose is to become more aware of what your deeper self is communicating. The Sun card then appears as a bright confirmation within your forecast, carrying themes of happiness, truth, and vitality. For Taurus, this suggests that the difficult experiences you have recently navigated are not meaningless. Your honesty, resilience, and ability to continue standing through challenging circumstances are beginning to produce signs of reward. The sun represents warmth after difficulty, clarity after uncertainty, and the ability to recognize the value of the present moment. You may have spent so much time trying to solve problems, protect yourself, or prepare for what could go wrong that you sometimes forget to experience what is already going right. The message here is to allow yourself to feel the joy that is available now. There is no requirement to postpone happiness until every problem has disappeared. The energy of the sun also encourages you to align yourself with the natural rhythm of the day to begin with, intention. Engage in daytime activities and use the active part of the day to strengthen your productivity and sense of accomplishment. The Ace of Pentacles follows with a strong emphasis on material and financial beginnings. This card suggests that new possibilities can begin opening in areas connected with work, money, career, investments, or creative efforts that carry financial potential. If you have been waiting for an opportunity that could improve your material circumstances, the reading presents this card as a positive sign of manifestation and practical possibility. Yet, because this is Taurus energy, the message is not simply to become excited about opportunity, it is to remain grounded while responding to it. New seeds can be planted now, but their value depends on what you do after planting them. Consistency, diligence, patience, and practical action determine whether an opportunity becomes something lasting. The Ace of Pentacles therefore speaks not only about receiving something new, but about having the responsibility to nurture it. The Three of Cups brings another dimension, focusing on friendship, community, celebration, and emotional nourishment. You are not meant to move through every stage of your life alone. There are people around you who genuinely value you, encourage you, and can contribute positive energy to your experience. Social gatherings, friendships, collaborative efforts, and moments of shared happiness can restore something inside you that solitary effort cannot always provide. Sometimes Taurus becomes so focused on stability and responsibility that joy becomes something postponed until the work is finished. But the Three of Cups reminds you that connection is not a distraction from life. Connection is part of life. Shared laughter, meaningful conversations, supportive friendships, and simple celebrations can strengthen your emotional resilience. The people who uplift you can help you remember that your world contains more than obligations and problems. The Hierophant then enters the reading carrying themes of tradition, wisdom, guidance, stability, and established values. Because this card has a strong relationship with Taurus energy, its presence speaks directly to qualities that are already familiar to you. You may find yourself returning to principles that have kept you grounded through previous stages of your life. Your beliefs, traditions, values, and sense of what is right can become anchors when circumstances around you feel uncertain. You may also find yourself learning an important life lesson or occupying the role of someone whose experience can guide another person. Wisdom does not always come from having every answer. Sometimes it comes from having lived through enough to recognize what truly matters. The Hierophant also carries a message of divine protection, particularly in circumstances involving legal matters, contracts, or personal conflicts. If you are currently dealing with something of that nature, the reading suggests that fairness and justice are working in your favor and that balance is being restored. The Lover's card adds a more intimate layer to the forecast, bringing attention to relationships, choices, partnership, and the alignment between what you feel and what you decide. A meaningful decision involving a relationship may be approaching. You may have an opportunity to repair something with someone from your past, rebuild a connection that became damaged, or strengthen a newer relationship that has the potential to grow into something deeper. The central question is not simply who you choose, but whether the choice reflects your genuine emotional truth. Sometimes people make relationship decisions from fear of being alone, fear of disappointing someone, fear of losing security, or attachment to what used to be. The Lovers asks you to move toward choices that create greater alignment between your heart and your life. For some Taurus individuals, the card may also describe an internal integration, the point where your emotional instincts and rational judgment begin working together rather than competing. That balance can help you make decisions with both compassion and clarity. Your health now deserves careful attention as well, both physically and emotionally. The reading suggests that your emotional equilibrium may fluctuate, meaning you could experience moments of melancholy, irritation, or anger connected with things that happened in the past. These feelings may emerge unexpectedly, perhaps when you thought you had already moved beyond them. Do not become frightened by their appearance, but do not repeatedly feed them either. A painful memory can become stronger when the mind continually returns to the same emotional loop without creating movement. Acknowledge what you feel, understand that it is present, and then give yourself permission to return to the present moment. The reading also draws attention specifically to your bones and skeletal system. This is presented as a reminder to care for the physical framework that supports your body, perhaps by paying attention to calcium intake and considering bone-strengthening foods or supplements if appropriate to your routine. The message is preventative rather than alarming. Your body deserves the same patience and practical care that you naturally offer other parts of your life. Finally, when it comes to work and the challenges standing between you and new goals, there is one question you should keep returning to. If a problem appears in front of you, ask yourself whether the problem has a solution. If the answer is yes, then allowing worry to consume all of your energy does not move you closer to the answer. Excessive worry can gradually weaken motivation, and weakened motivation can create fear, while fear can eventually make you feel unable to move at all. That is the pattern you are being asked to interrupt. Taurus, do not allow temporary uncertainty to become permanent stagnation. If a plan changes, if an expectation fails to materialize, or if something does not unfold according to the timeline you imagined, remember that one blocked path does not mean there are no paths left. The world contains opportunities you have not yet encountered, achievements you have not yet claimed, and possibilities you cannot currently see from where you are standing. Your responsibility is to keep moving, keep learning, keep growing, and keep your attention on what can still be built. Do not allow the opinions of other people to determine how far you are willing to go, and do not let a temporary obstacle convince you that your journey has ended, because the closing of this chapter is precisely what prepares the way for the next stage of your story.